Welcome into a digital edition of Daily Wager. I am Doug Kezirian alongside Joe Fortenbaugh and Preston Johnson. Big news out of Foxborough. The Patriots land Cam Newton, former MVP, who replaces, we think, Tom Brady at Gillette Stadium. So let's take a look at the odds reaction out there at Caesars Sportsbook. 8.5 was the over-under for the Pats. Moved up a half win to 9. Nothing official in terms of him starting. Preston, I talked to Jeff Davis, head of sports at Caesars, and he said Cam is an average quarterback at best in his eyes.
I love you, Jeff, but I think we can all agree that the upside for Cam Newton is a lot higher than average at best. I mean, last year he was injured, but his down season in 2018, you even look, he ranked 16th among QBs in expected points added in EPA. I mean, that's his down years. He's a league average quarterback. Now under Belichick, hopefully healthy. I think there's a lot more upside to Cam Newton. As far as the season win total is concerned, I mean, are you telling me that Jared Stidham, a guy that threw 4 passes his entire career, 1 for an interception, by the way, and then a 31-year-old former MVP, the difference over a 16-game season is only half of a win? The market is saying that they're only 1.8% more likely to make the playoffs. They're only winning the division 2% more often now. For me, I expected a massive overreaction after this news. It's an underreaction from a market perspective. So now I have to dig in a little more. Well, why haven't things moved too much? And really, I think it was that the pre-Cam odds were already baking in that Bill Belichick wasn't going to punt this season with Jarrett Stidham under center for the entirety of it. People were already expecting it. And so now that it's official, they moved a little bit, but they haven't done too much. So now I'm just sitting here looking at my projections currently versus the current market. And I think it's all pretty much lined fairly, maybe slight odds. I'm trying to dig in and figure out, this extra playoff spot, what it's worth. I think if I had to bet anything, I'd bet minus 200. They make the playoffs now. I think it should be more like minus 221. It's about a 2% edge, but it's nothing I'm going to bet when I have to wait till December to cash anyway for such a small edge. So I'm passing. I think everything's lined fairly now and the market's got it right.
Yeah, no, and by the way, Davis has been down on the Pats all offseason. And Tom Brady wasn't the reason they did not win it all last year. I think there was a lot of issues with this team. The defense is a little bit more hyped than maybe they really were on paper. So I expect some regression there. That's why I can't overreact too much to Newton. But I just love the idea of Cam Newton with Josh McDaniels and Belichick, a rejuvenated Belichick.
I'm conflicted on this one. I really am, because a healthy Cam Newton is a dangerous Cam Newton. But the thing is, I'm going to play the under if I'm going to do anything here, because 10 wins, I think, is too much for this team. 2 key reasons, none of which have to do with Cam Newton. Number one, the defense. Number 1 in total defense, number 1 in scoring defense last year. I think those numbers are significantly overrated based on the competition they played last year. Number 2, look at the schedule this year. The Patriots have to go on the road to Seattle. They got to go to Kansas City. They got to go to Houston. They got a road back-to-back in LA against the Chargers and the Rams. And at home, they've got to play the Niners and the Ravens. If I'm making a bet here, I'm going under 9 wins, Doug.
It figures to be a more competitive AFC East. Sam Darnold no longer battling mono. The Dolphins obviously showed some life at the end of last year. Bills went to the playoffs. So they're actually the favorites to win the East at Caesars. Everyone plus money, though. Preston, what stands out to you here?
So Tom Brady leads the division. The Buffalo Bills trade for Stephon Diggs. Everyone's slurping them up. I'm still bearish on Buffalo, and now that Cam Newton is a Patriot, that's at least 2 more games now that the Bills are going to have to play against a better Patriots team, in my opinion. So we talked about this earlier this summer. I bet them no to make the playoffs at plus 175. My true number is more like plus 135 in that regard. I bet under 9.5 wins and under 9 wins. I like the under still with Buffalo.
I am right there with you. 2 springs ago, I liked the plus 500 on the yes, so I've been rooting for the Bills in the past, but I just don't anticipate it. Joe, you're part of Bills Mafia, but I want to ask you about this prop. Bucks and Patriots head-to-head. Obviously, Caesar's getting creative, given the narratives with Tom Brady going down south to Tampa Bay. Bucks minus 1.5 wins against his former team, but it is minus $1.50 with New England. Joe, do you like a side at all?
If I'm going to do anything here, I would take the Bucks minus 1.5 plus 130. Now, I'm not as high on the Bucks as a lot of people are, but I'm certainly not as high on the Patriots as people are now that Cam Newton's in the mix. I just think there's less risk with Tampa Bay. The thing I can't get over with the Newton signing is this is the most important position in all of sports. He's 31 years old. He's in his prime. He's won an MVP award. And when we saw him prior to the last 2 injuries, he went 6-2 over those first 8 games, putting up a great completion percentage and a great quarterback rating that would have been number one in his career had it maintained throughout the course of the rest of the season outside of that injury in Pittsburgh. So why is it he signed for the veteran minimum? Right? Like there's something I can't get over with that. People will say it's COVID-19. They couldn't give him a physical. They couldn't check him out. Michael Brocker signed with the Ravens. They gave him a physical. They saw there was an issue and then they failed him. They sent him back to the Rams. I think for a quarterback who's won an MVP award, who's 31 years old, teams that were more excited would have gone all in on this guy. So I think there's something suspicious. Throw in the overvalued defense and the schedule that I mentioned earlier. I side with the Bucs.
So the contract doesn't make sense to Joe. How about these numbers? 30-1 to win MVP, the former MVP now in Foxborough, of course. Now, Preston, I'm kind of torn because I wouldn't blame anyone for trying to grab a piece of 30-1 under Belichick and McDaniels and everything. But it's just so hard to get MVP unless you're with the 1 or the 2 seed. The quarterback position obviously lends itself to this award, but I just don't see the Patriots getting that kind of a seed with the Chiefs and the Ravens in their conference. Where do you sit with this 30-1 prop?
You're right about the seeding, and I just think their style of play too. I mean, they're going to probably play in a similar vein that they have the last few years, where they're relying more on a running game. They're relying on a defense that's going to still, in my opinion, be at least above average in the NFL. And so if it's like that, he's just probably not going to have the numbers. And even if he does do well, even if the Pats do have a great season, though, I think this is really interesting. Isn't everybody just going to point to Bill Belichick and his system? And they're going to say, hey, look, see, anyone could do it. Now Cam Newton is. Tom Brady did it forever. I'm not sure even in a great year, he's going to get the votes. So for me, it's a total stay away at 30-1.
And let's be fair, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but Diana Rossini reporting that one coach within the AFC East thinks that it's not guaranteed that Cam Newton's going to be starting in week 1. It could be kind of a wild card, change of pace quarterback, so to speak. Could be still Stidham, a fellow Auburn Tiger. Joe, the futures market. So you're kind of torn in the division. I said earlier you're part of Bill's Mafia. You're really married into Bill's Mafia. Where do you sit with these Pats numbers?
It's a pass. Super Bowl odds, conference odds. It's a pass all the way across the board. I've got the Ravens and the Chiefs as the cream of the crop in the AFC. I know that's a big spoiler for you guys. You probably didn't see that coming, but those two are obviously going to be legitimate teams. Pittsburgh's going to bounce back. I think Indianapolis is on the rise. Buffalo and Tennessee made the playoffs last year. And then you got to figure there's going to be at least one sleeper, right? Denver could emerge this season. Everyone's trying to tell me Cleveland again. I'm not listening, but I might not be right on that one. Bottom line, I think there's plenty of competition. Maybe they find their way into the playoffs, but with Brady last year, they lost at home in the opening round of the Tennessee Titans. So even if Newton comes in healthy, how much better will they be? I think the schedule's tougher. Like I said throughout this show, I don't think the defense is as good as those numbers indicated last year. They're propped up against bad competition. I'm passing on the futures market here.
Yeah, they played a lot of teams last year that without their starting quarterback. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plenty of headlines coming out of Foxborough this year. Gentlemen, thank you.